ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ वर्स् 31 विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिः छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे This is actually the last verse of Drsya Viveka. With this, Drsya Viveka is over. We are going to see this verse. Later verses are a different prakarana has been added later, like Panchadashi. The two authors, work together. One is a Vidyaranya Swami and the other is a Bharati Tirtha Swami, who happens to be the teacher of Vidyaranya. Vidyaranya has two gurus. One is a Diksha Guru, other is a Vidya Guru. One guru's name is Shankaranand Saraswati. And Bharati Tirtha Swami also was his guru. And what happened is, like in Panchadashi, certain chapters contribute to Vidyaranya. And certain chapters are, some people say Vidyaranya could not write more than 7 chapters or 6 chapters. Later all chapters are added by Bharati Tirtha Swami. Some says no, first 10 chapters belong to Vidyaranya and then 11 to 15 belong to Bharati Tirtha Swami, because that's a discussion is quite different. The very 11th chapter starts with Brahmanande Yogananda, etc. Well, discussion on Ashtanga Yoga, Samadhi and all that, and through that Brahmanishtha, etc. So, well, that seems to be a little different compared to the first 10 chapters. But anyway, whatever it is. Same way here also, after this 31st verse, a different prakriya starts. It has no connection with these 31 verses. And so that prakriya, this is Drsya prakriya. The later prakriya is very different. So it happens that this 31 verses have been composed by Vidyaranya. It's likely. And the later verses, we can say it a different chapter, different prakarana, has been composed by Bharati Tirtha Swami. It is very much, scholars see this text like this. So author has, up to this, author has talked about all aspects of Vedantic teaching, concluding in the 31st verse. Vidyaranya has talked about the samsara as the non-discrimination between real and unreal. That is also at the two levels. At a subjective level, Veshti level, there is a non-discrimination between real seer and unreal seen. So that discrimination is between actually three seers, in that one happens to be this real seer. The other two are looked upon as a seers, but they are seen. And we have seen that the seer number one is a senses, which sees the external world. The seer number two is a mind, which sees the senses and the external world. And seer number three is the witness consciousness, which sees the mind. And therefore, seer number three, the Sakshi, is the real seer. These two seers actually are seen. The sense organs which sees the world is seen by the mind, and therefore it is not a real seer, pseudo seer. It's not by nature it is seer. Seer number two, the mind also is a seer with respect to the senses, but is seen with respect to the witness consciousness, seer number three. And therefore, and seer number three, Sakshi, is the seer, is ever seer, never the seen. Therefore, it's by nature the seer. Being self-evident consciousness, it is ever the seer, never the seen. Therefore, that is the real seer. So, the Viveka at the Veshti level, at the level of individual, which is a mixture of three seers, well, if you see it is as a one seer, well, that is not correct. Discriminate between the seer number three and the other two seers. Actually, they are seen. And therefore, the Sakshi, that is real Drik, and mind and the senses are seen, Drshyam. And that is called Drik Drsya Viveka at the Veshti level. At the objective level, at the level of Samashti, well, there is a non-discrimination between the Brahman and the names and forms. So, there also you see them as a one entity, as if names and forms are real. They have their own independent existence, etc. As the individual is looked upon as a one entity, but it is composed of a real seer and unreal seen. Same way at the objective level also, at the level of Samashti also, you see the world which is real, names and forms as real, but there also you have to discriminate. The Brahman is in the form of existence, you can say, well, that is real and the names and forms are mithya. So at the subjective level, the real here is, we call it as a consciousness, Sakshi consciousness, the witness consciousness. And at the objective level, well, the same consciousness is called Sat, the existence. What is existence? Is consciousness. What is a consciousness? Is ever existence. Consciousness is the only being, that's called Sat. Consciousness is Chit. There is no other being in this world. Now there are several beings, human beings and this being. No, the very beingness, the existence is consciousness, and they are one alone. And therefore, when you talk of existence, you have to bring consciousness, because that is the thing which is ever existent. And when you talk of an existence, well, you have to bring consciousness. And therefore, what is ever existence is consciousness. What is consciousness? Is the only being in the creation, and everything else is a mithya, has no beingness. And therefore, what is at a subjective level, what is Chit consciousness is the Sat at the Samashti level, and therefore Chit is Sat. So thus, the non-discrimination, of course, is the cause of a samsara, and therefore solution is a discrimination. For that, we, in verse 13 to 21, very nicely the cause of a samsara has been described as the ignorance of this Brahman or the self, either. Very beautifully it has been described there that, between verse 13 to 21, it has been shown, the idea of a creation has been brought in, and then creation has been brought in, then definitely the Maya has been brought in. Then after that, the Maya leads to that ignorance, avarana shakti, that has been brought in, and due to that ignorance, the samsara is there. This is how the four things have been introduced between verse 13 to 21. And so, well, in order to remove that samsara, which is due to the cause, which is due to the viveka and ignorance of oneself, so either in a samashti level or either in a veshti level, or samashti level, there is always a non-discrimination between. Here it is Drsya, outside also is between Druk or Drsya. Drsya is the names and forms, or let us say between Sat and the names and forms, either way. So that is to be done. The discrimination has to be done, the separation has to be done. So I have to separate the I, the Chit consciousness from body, mind, sense complex through understanding. And at the objective level also, I should understand the Sat, the reality, which is in and through all names and forms, in and through the universe. The very fabric of the entire universe is Sat. Because whether you say is, are, etc. or not, that doesn't make any difference. When you appreciate anything in this creation, name and form, well, their existence is associated with it. And so existence is the fabric of the entire universe. If that is not there, where is form and where is name? And therefore, so this is how. So I should separate Chit and Sat like this. And most importantly, I should understand that the Chit inside alone is the Sat outside. Sat and Chit are two. Always existence is associated with knowledge. Knowledge is associated with existence. What you know, you say it is. What you say it is, it's an object of your knowledge. And therefore, object of consciousness. So consciousness and existence always goes together. You cannot separate them. And so, well, Sat is Chit. They are just two different words, but they refer to one and the same entity called Atma or Brahman. And therefore, I, the Satchit Atma, is Satyam. And the body-mind complex, as well as the world, names and forms outside are Mithya. This discrimination is the solution. Therefore, well, the author said that it is not enough that if we do the discrimination, but it has to be assimilated also, so that our habitual identification with the body goes away. Any habit has to gradually go away, and removal of any addiction is very tough. And here it is an ego addiction. Ego addiction is the worst form of addiction. It is said that, if it is said that, moksha means dropping the ego addiction, people will generally opt for dropping moksha. Because the ego is the most dearest. Ego is the dearest in the world. A sense of individuality. All the clashes are the clashes of ego finally. All the clashes, even between two monks also, even between two brothers also, even between two any noble people also, between two scientists also. It's a ego clash. That is the dearest, because it is too close to the self. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. And therefore, very close to, very first superimposition on the self after, due to self-ignorance, is ahankara. And therefore, the love for the self, is the love for the ego. So, ego is most dear, and we should not complain. That sense of individuality, this person is very egoistic and he loves himself as an individual, and he boasts himself as an individual, and right. Well, that is not a matter of complaining. It is the order. That is Ishvara. That's order. Self-ignorance means ahankara. And therefore avidya and ahankara goes together. Sometime in Shastra, we'll be seeing this verse, in that I will show you. Avidya is ahankara. Ahankara is replaced by word avidya. Avidya is sometimes replaced by word ahankara. And therefore, well, such a love for the ego is there, and therefore knocking out the ego is the most difficult thing. If one loves smoking, one cannot give up smoking. Same way, one loves ego, one cannot give up this ego. Therefore, ego addiction is very much there. First form of addiction. So, while negation of individuality appears like a committing suicide kind of a thing, that is how many people do not want to study Vedanta, because here the very sense of individuality goes away. If sense of individuality goes away, means the very existent entity will go away, and therefore I become as though non-existent kind of a thing. And I love existence because that's my nature. And therefore this here ahankara itself is going to be said mithya, is going to be negated. People feel then I will not remain as an existent entity. And people always want to prove their existence to others. That's a sense of individuality. You want to prove that you are somebody, and that you cannot get rid of it. Means somebody, that means that ego is mithya. Then I become nobody, and that will not be good. In any organization, if you become nobody, you will become a doormat, and so people will walk over you, go and come. So you should always show that you are also, your existence is there. You see, what a problem. It's all psychological issue. So always you do something so that people will know you are existent. You always wear something, do something by which you show that you are also existent. And all this is called samsara. This all leads to sorrow. There is nothing but sorrow. This can never lead you for your well-being. But what can I do? That I know that smoking is not good for me. I know. But I cannot give it up. Same way this ego issue, I cannot give it up. I love myself as an individual. I want to prove others that I am an individual with a certain qualities. So this Vedanta knocks out the very basis of all issues. Anyway, and so people, negation of this individuality, ego, appears very difficult. And therefore people do not want this knowledge. But once it is understood that this individuality is another name for mortality, insecurity, then it seems a little worthwhile to learn how to drop this individuality. So withdrawal from this strong addiction to ahankara is very difficult, very close, first superimposition on the atma, and therefore long nididhyasanam is required. That's a final Viveka. Ahankara, Atma, Viveka. And in nididhyasanam, you basically want to get rid of this addiction, habitual error of taking yourself as just ego, ahankara, individual. And as a part of this nididhyasanam, 6 types of samadhi abhyasa are prescribed. We have seen that. And as a result, one obtains Jivan Mukti. When you don't take yourself as an individual, then not just one state is a state of happiness called deep sleep state, other states also becomes a source of happiness, right? When you don't take yourself as an individual, the deep sleep state is a state of a joy. And when you wake up, still you don't take an individual because you have really woken up. Your ignorance has gone. Then again, well, that even waking state also is not a burden. Burden is only for the people who take themselves as a ego, sense of individuality. If that you drop it, either due to natural reason or with the help of a knowledge, gaining this Drsya Viveka, you drop the sense of individuality. What causes sense of individuality is the identification with the body, mind, sense complex. That you understand it as a mithya, and knowing yourself as just witness consciousness. That is the reality of you, and that is to be assimilated through this samadhi abhyasa. Then you will enjoy your life throughout, not just one state, other states also. Not just deep sleep state, now waking also, called Jivan Mukti. And, well, of course, Bhagavan also says, well, you don't take yourself as a one who is born and gone, born, birth and death. If you don't take yourself as subject to birth and death, I will not give you birth and death anymore. If you claim you are subject to birth and death, well, I will continue that. Because why should I disturb you? So be there with this notion. What is subject to birth and death? Well, he is subject to birth and death, but I am not subject to birth and death. That's the thing. That's the thing. So then Videha Mukti also is possible. So this is how. So, and this benefit, etc., is presented in this 31st verse, bodily lifted from Mundaka Upanishad. Vidyate hridaya granthihi chidyante sarvasamshayaha. So, this is the last verse in the Drsya Viveka. Now we'll see this verse because it is a very, very important verse, and I would like to discuss many things regarding the mechanism of knowledge, what are the things involved in this knowledge, etc., what will be the benefit. All these things are woven in this one verse. So I am going to discuss a little in detail. As such, we have not hurry. We are going to complete the Drsya Viveka as such. I mean, unofficially. Then we have to take the second part that will take. But this, how this Brahma Vidya takes place, what are the obstacles involved and what you should do for this, and how, what will be the result of this knowledge, etc. All these things are there in this just one mantra or one verse here. So, well, Brahman is revealed here as a paravara. Tasmin drishte paravare. Para means that which exists before. Para means before. Apara means later. Apara which comes later. Para means which exists before. Well, what exists before is the cause. What comes later is the effect. And so the effect, that is this Jagat, including one's body, mind, sense complex, is mithya. Now I can say very well, because we have seen, right? All that was there. What you see now, either in terms of a body, mind, sense complex, which is an object of yourself, object of consciousness, object of knowledge, and this external world, all was there. This has been discussed between verse 13 to 21. All was there in unmanifest form, in Brahman. Whole thing, body, mind, sense complex and external world, was in unmanifest form, in Brahman, called Maya. So, basically this all unmanifest form was non-separate from Brahman. Like all entire furniture was unmanifest in the form of a wood, was non-separate from the wood. And so-called creation is nothing but the unmanifest becomes manifest. It's not that well, there is a cause and the names and forms and everything have been added to that cause. No names and forms in terms of furniture have been added to the wood. They were there in an unmanifest form. The carpenter's job is to make them manifest. And same way here also, this universe, entire universe, whatever you experience, including your body, mind, sense complex, whole thing was there. As this is right now, it is manifest. That's how you are experiencing. It was there, and it was not available for experience. Means it was in unmanifest form in Brahman. So that Brahman plus unmanifest universe, which is called Maya, Brahman plus Maya is the Ishvara. And right now also Brahman plus manifest names and forms, which we call Jagat or Virat. So right now also it is Brahman plus manifest names and forms. Manifest names and forms are also non-separate from Brahman. Unmanifest names and forms are also non-separate from Brahman. And definitely they exist in Brahman. They don't have an independent existence, manifest or unmanifest universe. Therefore, it is mithya, non-separate. And being mithya, it depends upon Satyam Brahma, and therefore, well, it is non-separate. So, cause and effect basically are Brahman. What you call cause is nothing but Brahman plus unmanifest names and forms. That's called cause, which we call Ishvara. And what you call effect is nothing but Brahman plus manifest names and forms. That's the effect, which is called universe. So cause and effect are nothing but Brahman. Why? Why? Names and forms are there, but remember, they are mithya. So what was unmanifest? The cause also was Brahman. What is effect also is Brahman. So cause and effect, everything is Brahman, Paravara. Para means what was existent before, cause. Avara, what comes later, effect, that is also Brahman. Therefore for Brahman they have used word Paravara. Cause and effect, everything is Brahman. Or we can take it a different meaning. Para can be understood as the Ishvara. Para means which is superior. Avara means which is inferior. So, well, Para means Ishvara, and Avara, the inferior, is a Jiva. This Jiva and Ishvara are Brahman. Therefore, they are identical. The differences between them is in terms of Upadhi. Upadhis are mithya. Whether it is a Vidya Upadhi, which is a Shakti of a Maya, Avarana Shakti, or which is Maya itself, that is also mithya. Upadhi of a Brahman, Upadhi of Ishvara, because of which he is, Brahman is called Ishvara, that is also mithya. And Maya's Avarana Shakti, well, that is called Jnanam. That is a mithya. If Maya is mithya, its Shakti, Avarana Shakti also is mithya, Avidya is mithya. And therefore, due to Avidya, well, this Brahman is said as a Jiva. Due to Maya Upadhi, well, same Brahman is said as a Ishvara. So between Jiva and Ishvara, there is no real difference. Due to Upadhi, there is a difference. Upadhis are mithya, and therefore the differences are mithya. And therefore, Paravara, Jiva and Ishvara are identical in nature. So that identity is revealed by the word Paravara. Tasmin Paravare Drashte Sati. When that Brahman, Sati, we have to add Sati Saptami, Bhava Saptami. When that Brahman, which is both Para and Avara, is seen, which is the cause and effect, is seen. Word seen is used in the Shastra in the place of known, because there is finality in the sight and there is no doubt involved in it. Even in a homicide case and etc., the testimony of the eyewitness is conclusive, not what one has heard. That's not conclusive. What one has seen is considered as an proof. Even in the cases in the court, eyewitness they call. They never say ear witness. They say eyewitness. Means the sight is final. Therefore, in Shastra, they always use what is known finally. For that, they use what is seen. Atmavare drashtavya. Atmavare jnatavya has not been told. Atmavare drashtavya. Atma is seen finally. Yeah. Clarity in knowledge. Shravanam mananam and nididhyasanam. Shrotabhya mantavya nididhyasitavya. Anyway, so Shastra uses the word drishti. Tasmin drishti paravare. The word drishti involving sight. Sight into what? Sight into what? Sight into the Mahavakya. Then only you will say paravara. Jiva and Ishvara are one alone. You are using for one entity. There are two entities, Jiva and Ishvara. That is ignorance. That is, then you have not seen. You have seen means what? Oh, they are really one. There is no difference at all. Difference was existing due to ignorance between Jiva and Ishvara. So, tasmin drishte paravare, clearly leaving this drishti into Mahavakya, etc. Means Atma should be known like this, as non-separate from Brahman. Atma is identical, not non-separate. Atma is identical to Brahman. One sees oneself as Brahman. That's called knowledge of Atma. The Atma is, the Mahavakya tells that you are Brahman. So Atma is, Mahavakya reveals Atma. No. Atma is self-evident. Shastra Mahavakya do not reveal Atma. Atma is self-evident. But it has to be recognized as Brahman, which you are not knowing, due to the mistake. Due to the mistake committed, in your buddhi, Atma is seen as a human being or seer or etc., ahankara. Well, that is to be dropped by knowing the Mahavakya. So it has this Atma which is self-revealing. Shastra cannot reveal it. Shastra does not reveal you are. You are already there and you only go to the Shastra. Before you go, your existence you know very well. Your existence you don't prove by Shastra. But you are Brahman, definitely you should know. Because when you go to the Shastra, you have already committed a mistake. That you are a pramata, etc. You are a human being or whatever. You are a ahankara. You are an individual. That's a mistake you have committed. That mistake is to be dropped in understanding of a Mahavakya, that you are Brahman. And therefore, which is paravara, that recognition should be conclusive, drishte. It should not leave anything to be desired. So when Brahman is recognized as oneself, then certain results are pointed out. First, what? Vidyate hridaya granthihi. Tasmin drishte paravare. It reveals self-knowledge. And if you gain such a knowledge of the self as the knowledge of the self as Brahman, vidyate hridaya granthihi. The knot of ignorance is resolved once ignorance goes away. In fact, the going away of the ignorance is the seeing of Brahman. There is not that ignorance goes away and then Shastra's words will still searching for Brahman. Where is Brahman? Where is Brahman? No. Going away of ignorance is seeing the Brahman. That is how it is, because it's self-evident. Only the notion pertaining to self-evident self has to be dropped. So as they are dropped, means ignorance is going away, well, the self-evident is assimilated as Brahman. The limitations were superimposed on limitless Brahman. As these limitations which based on the self, superimposed upon self are going away, when self-ignorance is going away, one sees oneself as Brahman. So this knowledge takes place differently from all other forms of knowledge. In other forms of knowledge, Atma has got to be there as the knower. In all forms of the knowledge, that knower is retained. A knower has to be there in order to recognize the object of thought, object of knowledge. This is all types of knowledge. With reference to self-knowledge, on the other hand, the knower does not remain as a separate entity from the object of knowledge. Why? Because he recognizes that the knower is Brahman. Yeah, the very knower is Brahman. In all other forms of knowledge, the knower is retained, separate from the object of knowledge. But this self-knowledge is a very peculiar kind of knowledge, where the knower itself does not remain as a separate entity in the recognition that knower is Brahman. So Atma is not going to be seen as an object of knowledge. It's not an object at all. And therefore self-knowledge, Atma Jnanam, there it is not a knowledge of Atma, where the knower of Atma is different and the known that Atma is different. No, that's not the case. So knowledge removes the ignorance and ignorance-bound notions that I am a samsari, I am a doer who has to accomplish all these different types of end, all purushartha. They have to acquire them. I have to acquire punya papa, I have to acquire artha, I have to acquire so many objects of kama. And I have to do for that a lot of actions, I have to put a lot of efforts. Then only they are available. Nothing is free in this creation. This artha kama dharma gone. In that removal, there is this recognition that all that is here at all the times, including my desired objects and objects of security in everything, is Brahman. And that Brahman is myself. Nothing else goes away, nothing comes in. That's it. Nothing else goes away from the Brahman, nothing comes in that Brahman. And therefore desire, to be somebody is not there anymore. This is Jnana, where you don't have desire to be different from what you are. That is only possible only when you know you are limitless. Then only it will go away. Otherwise, this desire to be somebody continues. So, when the sense of doership, etc., goes away, the reality given to the accessories also of actions such as object and instruments, and they also go away. Previously, these accessories of the actions were taken as the real. Now, all of them are bhatitam. Where it has been mentioned, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, all accessories of the yajna, and the very performer, and the priest, and everything is Brahman. So that is the performer is no more a performer. He doesn't see himself as a doer of this ritual. So they are all bhadita, sublated. By what? By knowledge. Since the doer is not there, the karma is not there. The karma phala also does not accrue to this person. Why you are mentioning that here? Because it is coming. Kshiyante chasya karmani. It is coming. It is coming. Why there are no karmas, no karma phala, no prarabdha, no sanchita? Why? So for that purpose I am saying here, the doer goes away, the accessories goes away, badhita goes away, matlab they don't go away anywhere. What goes away? Nothing goes away. When you realize Brahman means all that is here at all the time is me. Wherever the thing is and whenever the thing is, all that was there in the past, all that is there here, and all that will be there in future. Everything is me. That's it. Whatever exists in 3 periods of time is me. I am free from that is called Satyam. What exists in all the 3 periods of time, that's not a proper definition in fact. Still there is some kind of a limitation in time. What exists in three periods of time. No. What exists in 3 periods of time is timeless. Yeah. Time bound means what? What exists now will not be there in future. What will be there in future will not be there in further. And it was not there, it is not there right now. All this is time bound. When we say what exists in all the 3 periods of time is definitely free from the time. Has to be free from the time, because there is nothing in the creation. Not a single cheese. Ek bhi cheese aisi nahi, which exist all the 3 periods of time. No, nothing. Even the whole entire creation, including space, was not there before its creation. That's what Sadeva Sumedam Agra Asit Ekameva Dvitiyam. Before this creation has manifested, it was not there, definitely. And not there, it was unmanifest, in different form. Therefore, basically, what exists in all the 3 periods of time, without any change. Yes, yesterday only I told you, Atma cannot become unmanifest. Creation becomes unmanifest, Atma also unmanifest. Creation manifest, Atma manifest. No. What is there all the time, which is evident, which is self-illumining, which is ever manifest, let us say. We should not say like that, but still, ever manifest. No change at all. Nirvikaraha is one thing, and that is Atma. Okay. So now, Vidyate Hridaya Granthihi. Granthihi. What is the Granthi? Avidya, Kama, Karma. These 3 things constitute the Granthi, the knot. A knot always ties up the things, right? And so, Atma also, due to avidya, is bound to this body. Therefore, avidya is called knot. Knot ties 2 things. So, this Atma, self-evident consciousness, which is Satchidananda, is bound to this body as though, by what? By a knot. What is that knot? Avidya. That's how it is. Original cause. And then by kama, desire also. And finally by karma. See, Atma is tied to this body by avidya. Then Atma is tied to these bodies by kama, desire. Atma is tied to this body by karma. So avidya here we can take it as ahankara also. Ahankara and karma for this person to this body, and tie this person to this body and take him or her to another body, again to another body, again to another body. This continues as long as avidya is there. So long as the knot is there, you remain bound. You have to release the knot. That is what the Upanishad says. Meaning of the word Upanishad. Yeah. Visharana gati avasadanam. Visharanam. Releasing the knots. And finally, avasadhanam. First you have, that's what they do. In knot also they first, they little bit release and then it goes away. So when that avidya goes away, definitely, then samsara, well, characterized by this janma, marana, everything goes away. Avidya is laid to the a sense of limitation centered on the self. Therefore, there is a desire to be a complete, desire for a fulfillment. And well, the desire is fulfilled when I gain, because I am unfulfilled. Therefore, I look at the world to give me the sense of fulfillment. So, kama, the desire is there for the sense objects in the world. Then that leads to those things you have to gain it. What is not there with you, well, to gain those things, the karma alone is a means. Apraptasya prapta sadhanam karma. Praptasya praptihi through jnanam. Apraptasya praptihi through karma. What is not gained, what you don't have, if you want, well, karma alone is a means. So vidya leads to kama, kama leads to karma, and karma phala, and then punya papa, and janma marana, everything. So samsara's karanam is this avidya, kama, karma. So samsara, well, if avidya goes away, well, then the samsara characterized by birth and death also goes away. Now, suppose one has ignorance of the pot. And when pot ignorance goes away, pot does not go away. Nor does anything else go away. I mean, instead of a pot, there may be something else. So when you know really it is a clay, the pot does not get destroyed, does not vanish. It remains. So when ignorance of Atma, well, goes away, then your samsara also should remain. No, samsara goes away. Samsara goes away. So that is because samsara is a product of ignorance. And therefore, we are not attempting basically to eliminate the problem of a samsara or even the cause of the problem. The attempt here is to understand what is the Atma. In light of what is Atma, if you understand tasmin drishte paravare, when you see yourself as a paravara, very cause and effect, when you see yourself as a Brahman, identical to Brahman, I mean, well, in light of that, this avidya, kama, karma goes away. Samsara goes away. Fear goes away. Sorrow goes away. Sense of limitation goes away. The doership goes away. The kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, guilt, hurt, everything goes away. Everything goes away. If they remain, Swamiji, they remain. If that remains, then there is no use of this knowledge. Yeah. What pertains to Ishvara Srushti will remain. What pertains to this Jiva Srushti will definitely go away. Ishvara Srushti means this appearance of a ego and the body, and that's what is going to come. That will remain. So, just as pot remains even after knowing it is a clay, pot ignorance has gone away, you know it is clay, pot remains. Same way, what belongs to Ishvara Srushti will remain. What belongs to the Jiva Srushti, Jiva's own projection, which is samsara, will go away. Avidya goes away, which is the Veshti Upadhi of this Jiva. When that goes away, from avidya what is born, the desires and etc., desire for the sense objects and desire of the pleasures and the karma, the doership and kartrutvam and all these things. The karma, punya papa, sanchita, and so that is going to come. That's called samsara. The very cause of the birth and death is the karma. That goes away. So, ignorance of self will definitely, naturally make one a doer. I'm explaining you, I'm just explaining, but I'm further explaining you. So, ignorance of the self will naturally make oneself as a doer. identifying with the body mind sense complex, then one will then be given as an individual distinct from everything else. Everything else means including Ishvara, becomes everything else. Once that I sense come in this, then I am individual. Then everything else is different from me. The deities and elements and Ishvara and the forces and the people, the bugs and everything. And it is infinite. It's infinite. What you are not is infinite. What you are is this 5 feet 8 inches. That's it. In this entire universe, which has a massive substances like these black holes and whatnot. What you are not is infinite. And you are very finite. And therefore, well, with these 2 small hands and frail legs and, well, you are fighting all the time to so-called everything else. So it's a fight of a one against everything, the all. Why you are discussing? I am discussing samsara. One is born loser, Pujya Swamiji's word. Born loser. And has no chance whatsoever to win after the fight. The whole life of a ignorant person is a fight. Fight of oneself to the all, to the infinite. And he wants to win over. This is a struggle called samsara. Because we people are so not, get appealed with this birth and death are not there. Okay, what this Muktatma is saying, we are not interested in this. It's okay, if birth is there, it is there. I will have my own ways of living the life. What is big deal in this birth and death? It's okay. But this is the samsara. What struggle as a jiva, as an individual I have with the entire world is a samsara, that struggle. And in the struggle everything is there. There is some joy also. Like in our Gujarati pickle, there is little bit sweetness. But other things are also there. Everything is there. More of a pain, less of a pleasure. That is the life of samsari. So anyway, this is a situation for samsari. It has started with avidya. So it takes a long time to understand what exactly will resolve this knot of ignorance. Anyway, so avidya granthi, otherwise called hridaya granthi, then falls apart when one knows oneself. Okay, one part is over. Chidyante sarva samshayaha. We are going to discuss how many samshayas are there. There are levels of samshaya. And as long as these levels of samshayas are there, one is not clear of oneself as Brahman. Those samshayas I will discuss in next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.